Joe,
Yes?
why are you sucking your thumb?
Was I sucking my thumb?
Yes, Joe, you were.
Well, I'm feeling a little bit afraid, nervous, anxious, stressed out.
Oh, why's that, Joe?
I heard that this week you were going to be talking about... Oh, what's that noise? Oh, I heard it again. It's a creaky sound.
Oh, that's just my podium.
Oh, okay. I thought it might be bones creaking.
Well, why did you think that?
Because I heard that this week you're going to be talking about Joseph's bones. Ooh.
Yes, we are. We're going to talk about Joseph's bones.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go hide. Goodbye.
All right, boys and girls. I don't think it's going to be that scary, though. There are scary things this time of year. There are scary things in the Bible, but life can be scary. But the good thing is that we do have the Lord, and He knows the future, and He has a plan, and it's not always easy, but it's what kind of plan? It's a good plan, and we can trust Him, and He will help us. So the Bible says, what time I am afraid, I will trust in you. Now, we've been talking, we're gonna really start speeding through because we've got to get to Moses next week. So I hope you remember what you learned in kindergarten, first grade if you were at our school, but we're gonna really speed through and connect the dots. Yeah, Abraham, when he looked up at those stars, do you think he was connecting the dots? And I don't know, who invented all those constellations? Interesting. But God told Abraham, I'll make your descendants as many as the stars in heaven, when he didn't even have one. And the Bible says that he believed God and his faith was counted for righteousness. And so this was his saving faith. And we're going to just review our two different kinds of faith, saving faith. And so God made it happen. Abraham just believed and God made it happen. So saving faith, we have this big gap between God and us. Everybody's born on this side with a sinful nature and just kind of a heart that doesn't want to obey all the time. And so we can't ever get to God with our good works because we're just not good enough. So when we put our faith in Jesus as our deliverer, then just like Abraham, we have saving faith and it brings us into God's family. Through Jesus, we just walk right across that bridge in our mind, just saying, God, I'm trusting in you. I know I'm not good enough to be in your family, to go to heaven, to be friends with you, but I trust in what Jesus did on the cross, that all my sins are paid for, washed away, and forgiven. And the minute we do that, we're born into God's family. So I've got Abraham here in God's family. See his beard? I don't know if you can see his beard, but he is with God, and that can't change because God is not a man that he should lie, and he's going to keep us there. But he will discipline us. We can't think that we'll just be passed over, that God will just look the other way just because we're a Christian or in his family. Your parents just wouldn't look the other way every time if you were getting into trouble. No, they care about you. They wouldn't just let you get in your car and drive away. No, because they know you would get hurt. They don't just let you take your bike anywhere, on a really busy highway. No. They have rules and they discipline you when you don't keep the rules. Why? Because they love you. And it's the same way with God. And they also reward you. Now we know that Abraham had a miracle baby. He was too old to have a baby. Sarah was too old. The only way that it could have happened was God. And that's the way God wanted it. Because with saving faith, it's only through Jesus Christ. It's only by God. That's the only way that we can be saved. It's no part of what we do at all. Then, as Abraham was in God's family, God tested him to help him to mature, to grow up. So we find this out in the book of James. It's all about being tested, being rewarded as a Christian. And it even says, it talks about Abraham at the other time of his life when he was tested with what he was told to do with Isaac. And we know he knew God's character so well that he knew that this was not going to be what it looked like it was going to be. So he trusted God. In the book of James, it says that by works, his faith was made perfect or mature. And then it was an example to the rest of the world. So when people look at us, they can't tell if we're in God's family or not. But we can tell them. If we tell them and we don't have good works, we're mean to them, we say bad words, we lie, then of course they're not going to believe us. So and God can't reward that, can he? So God is looking to reward us also. And so God did reward Abraham in ways that we don't have time to talk about today. But James talks about rewarded faith. One of the ways I will mention, though, in the book of James is that God says if we endure our trials, our tests, then he saves for us a crown of life. And so Abraham did endure his test. He went through it and had faith, trusted God through it. And so when we get to heaven, do you think we'll see him with a crown on his head? Well, it says that you'd get a crown of life. What kind of rewards do you want to get in heaven? God is saving some for you when you have this kind of faith that trusts God through hard times and continues to work for God and doesn't give up. Now, I want to tell you that when Isaac grew up, Abraham got a really good wife for Isaac. Her name was Rebecca, and Isaac and Rebecca started a family. It took a while before their family got started, but they actually then got an extra boost because they had twins. That's right. When Rebecca was expecting her baby, she had 2 babies in her belly, and they were already fighting against each other, even before they were born. Talk about having a sin nature. Well, yeah, we're all born with it. And these babies, when they grew up, they were brothers who still fought and fought and fought. And we've got a picture of one of them here. Of course, it's not a photo. It's just a picture that somebody did in artwork. This is Jacob, and he is sleeping like a baby, isn't he? But he's not a baby. He's a full-grown man. You know what he's using for a pillow? A rock. Isn't that strange? That's because he has run away from home. But he's a grown man. But the reason why he's run away is that his brother has said, I'm going to kill Jacob. Because Jacob actually was deceiving and lied to his own father. Oh, the consequences. Do not lie, especially not to your parents. Well, God knew. And Jacob had to run away because his brother was so angry. His brother's name was Esau. You remember the story of Jacob and Esau? So I'm not going to tell the whole story, but Jacob, when he was sleeping, God gave him a dream. And in the dream, God said that he would bless Jacob. And the dream was angels going up and down on a staircase or a ladder. A staircase to heaven. You know, a lot of people want to get up where God is. Satan wanted to, didn't he? But it's because he wanted to be the boss. Cain wanted to make his own rules and not bring the right sacrifice. He didn't think that he needed a deliverer. The people after the flood made a tower to worship heaven. Was their tower going to get them to God? Was it going to make them become gods and be able to make all the rules and be the boss? No. Well, this is a strange dream that Jacob has. Is this staircase or ladder that's going to heaven and all these angels going up and down on it. In the morning when he wakes up, he knew that it was a dream from God. Now today, God doesn't need to talk to us in dreams because we have his words in the Bible. Well, when Jacob woke up in the morning, he anointed those stones where he slept, and he wanted to remember that place as a very special place. And that place is in the country of Israel that we know today is called Israel. Back in Jacob's day, it was called, do you remember what? Started with a C? Canaan. Right. Now, Jacob went through a lot of different things because of his lies, and he had to learn a lot of things the wrong way. Finally, he did make it back home, and he did become friends again with his brother Esau. And by the time he made it back home, he had 2 wives, and then their servants became his wives. 4 wives. Do you think that's what God wanted? No. And he had 12 children. Actually, 13. I'm sorry. Oh, did I almost forget the girl? Oh, what a shame. We can't forget the girl, Dinah. Yes, he had 12 boys. That's a lot of sons. That's a big family. Now, that brings us to the story that these 12 boys, do you think they were good all the time just because they're in the Bible? No. The Bible isn't there to tell us how good people are. No, it's there to remind us that people a lot of times make bad choices. All right, hopefully we'll learn by their bad choices and not make them ourselves. Well, here's Jacob, and here's the sons. Not quite all of them. I don't think they're all going to fit in the picture. And here's Jacob's favorite son. You know, I just gave it away, didn't I? Joseph. And you can tell because Jacob gave Joseph a special coat, which meant that he was the honored son who would be the leader in the family. The other brothers were so jealous that you remember what they did? When Joseph came to bring them food, he was obeying his father. He was doing what was good. They started talking. Here comes that dreamer. Because Joseph had dreams that the other brothers would bow down to him. Not in worship, but in respect. You know what? God was making Joseph a prophet. God was sending him messages. God had sent Jacob a message with the ladder dream. Now God was sending Joseph a message. And we'll talk more about the ladder dream later. Well, the brothers got, just like people sometimes do, even when they hear something from the Bible or something that is from God, that is meant for their good, they take it the wrong way and get angry at God. Sometimes we don't like tests, and when we're getting tested, when we're going through a hard time, we lose patience and we get angry. But God doesn't want us to lose patience, because our testings, our hard times, if they're from God, then they're good. They're gifts from him to us to help us mature, to help us grow. Your parents don't send you to bed at bedtime to be mean. It's a good gift. They're taking care of you. They want you to be strong and healthy. And our blessings are from God. Temptations are from the devil. The devil tries to send temptations to test us in ways to destroy us. But when God sends a testing, it's to strengthen us and teach us and grow us up. It's not to destroy us. And same thing with your teachers and parents. I have very few students that have liked to take tests. When they do, it's usually because they know the material and they want to show off and get that A+ reward because they know it. Sometimes tests make us anxious. And we don't usually like tests. And the tests that God gives are not written on paper, are they? All right, well, Joseph is about ready to enter into a testing. The other brothers, being very angry at him, throw him in a pit. And they're thinking about killing him. But actually they don't. One says, no, let's just leave him here. And he was hoping to come back and get him. But then the other brothers decided to sell Joseph. And Joseph, wait. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's right. Sell him as a slave. And the people that bought him took him back to Egypt. And you see the chains? He's about 17 years old here, and he has become a slave. Wait, I thought it was the Canaanites that were supposed to be servants. No. Remember, God told Abraham that his descendants would be slaves or strangers in a foreign land. Well, Joseph ends up being the first. What do the brothers do? They tell their father Jacob, "Look, we found Joseph's coat with blood all over it. It must have been a wild animal that got him." And Jacob believed that his most favored son, Joseph, was dead, not knowing that he'd been sold as a slave. Oh my. Joseph had the next 13 years of just being a servant, working hard, and even getting lied about. He became a servant for Potiphar, and Potiphar began to trust him, and then someone lied about him, and he got thrown in prison. And in prison, though, he did not give up. He had working faith. Now, when he was young, he already had faith that there was a Savior and faith in the one true God. But now his faith is being tested and it is growing, and he has a faith that will it get rewarded? Well, years and years go by. Joseph is working, helping people in the prison, even interpreting people's dreams, because God is still with him and God is helping him, until one day Pharaoh, king of Egypt, has a dream, and Joseph goes to interpret Pharaoh's dream, and he gives God the credit. He says, "God can interpret this dream for you." And Joseph tells him what it means. And because this interpretation of this dream helps Pharaoh and the country of Egypt so much, Pharaoh is so thankful that guess what he does? Well, it's not just from him, it's from God. He rewards Joseph. He gives him a ring of authority and a chain around his neck and makes him second in command. That's like vice president. And what do the brothers come when they get hungry? And Egypt is the only one that has food during this famine that God had predicted. A famine means the food won't grow. What do the brothers do? That's right. They end up, by this time, Joseph is 30 years old, that the brothers end up coming to Egypt, not recognizing Joseph. He's speaking Egyptian, he's dressed totally differently, and he is all grown up. And they bow down to him, showing respect as the vizier or vice president of Egypt. And they don't even realize that they are fulfilling what God said would happen. And Joseph has compassion on them. To make a long story short, he accepts them, he forgives them. He does test them first to make sure that they treated their littlest brother Benjamin well. But by now Benjamin has grown up too, and he says, "Move the whole family here to Egypt, and I will take care of you during this hard time of famine." So he does. He moves the whole family there. He sees his father Jacob again. They are reunited, and this brings the family from Canaan to Egypt. Wait, I thought God said he was going to give Abraham the land of Canaan. It's in the plan. God has a plan. It isn't always easy, but God's plan is good. Well, God had said, your descendants are going to be servants in a stranger's land, a foreign land. And so there they are in Egypt. Now, at first, they're treated really, really, really well because Joseph is second in command, and Pharaoh gives Jacob's family the best of the land so they can be shepherds and watch over their flocks and have plenty of green pasture. And in the meantime, Jacob gets old and dies. And he passes the blessing on, though. Remember, God gave the blessing to Abraham, and then it went to Isaac, and then it went to Jacob, and now it's going to go to Jacob's sons. Jacob dies. Then, at the age of 110, Joseph dies. Now, Joseph is a leader in Egypt. So actually, Jacob also became such an important man in Egypt that both of them were given special funerals, special burials. Here's where we come to the bones of Joseph. Jacob and Joseph were what's called embalmed, and their bodies were, well, I don't want to scare you. No, I might need to call my mummy. My mummy. Oh, no. I didn't say mommy. I said mummy. That's right. In Egypt is where they made mummies, where they would wrap up people and put them in a big fancy coffin that had their face on it. And then, in the movies, they open, it opens up and out walks this mummy all wrapped up, and it's really scary. Well, Joseph was buried that way, but he was buried in Egypt. Now, Jacob, they did take Jacob all the way back to the land of Canaan, where Abraham had bought a cave and a burial place for Sarah, and other of their relatives were buried there. But Joseph was buried in Egypt, but he had it written down, told the Israelites, when you leave Egypt, take my bones with you. So there's where the story has Joseph's bones. Take the bones with you. So there's a place in Israel today where Jacob is buried and Joseph is buried. And this was 4,000 years ago. God keeps his promises, because the bones of Joseph did eventually make it to the land of Canaan, or Israel. How did the bones of Joseph make it to Israel when he was originally buried in Egypt? In fact, the Egyptians believe you should not be buried anywhere else. You must be buried in Egypt. So Joseph was buried in Egypt to begin with, but they took his bones back to Israel. And we're going to hear the story of how that happened this week. Well, we'll get to it. We're going to start on it this week. All right, work on your verse. We're going to get it graded as soon as you come back the end of the week. I'll try to give you a video just working on the verse. Goodbye.